Jubilee Films presents an exclusive interview with Dr. J. Alexander IAS, retired Chief Secretary and former Cabinet Minister of Karnataka. In this episode, Sir will be sharing his personal life experience before becoming an IAS officer. This journey will be an inspiration to all the aspirants.
So you were born and brought up in a village in Kerala. Can you please share your childhood days?
Okay. Now when you speak about my childhood, I have to begin with a very interesting statement. When I retired as Chief Secretary to the government of Karnataka, there was a group of press people who came to me and asked me to say something, give some mantra which I have always kept with myself. And I told them one sentence. I said, whatever happens to you is for your ultimate good if you have sustained faith in divine providence. Can you remember the meanings of the words? For every word has whatever happens to you is for your ultimate good if you have sustained faith. Sustained faith means when everything is all right, you say, God is great, thank you God. When something goes wrong, why have you punished me?
Yes.
That is not sustained faith. Sustained faith in divine providence. Now, why I say that is, that has been my experience. All that has happened in my life, when I look back, is not my planning. I was born in an ordinary village on the outskirts of Kollam town in Kerala, a coastal town. Today, that village, it's called Mangad. It is now part of the Kollam town. But nowadays, it was a village. I was the first graduate from that village. And the second graduate was my wife. You can imagine the state of educational status of that village. Okay, that is the background from which I came. From an ordinary family. My parents were not rich people. They were ordinary people there. Simple people. When I was born, some neighbors came to my mother and told her, this child has some signs of big travel. He will travel. Maybe he will even go abroad. Okay. And my mother said, where will he go? He may go up to Kollam town. For her to perceive my traveling abroad was never in her mind. It could not even never be dreamt. Now, there is today my position is, if you ask me which countries I have traveled, you have to ask me which countries I have not traveled. During my service and even after the service, I had such opportunities for traveling abroad several times to all countries in the world. It was not planned. Then I went to a school in a village. I did my middle school up to 8th standard or 7th standard. Now, we belong to the Catholic Church, Catholic family, a village. So in a village, for a Catholic families, the priest is a leader. And our priest was one Father Kashmir Thomas, a person who was highly educated, very far-looking person. He would preach in the church about the need for clean environment, what Modi ji speaks about Swachh Bharat. In 1950, my parish priest in a village used to say, everyone must have a toilet, your roads should be wide, you must quick. And people used to say, why should this priest speak instead of speaking Bible? He's speaking about toilet. But that was a kind of a person who was my first influence. I'm trying to say how, and his influence was such on me that I wanted to become a priest like him, to be a leader of thought, to influence people and all that. And what do you do? For becoming a priest, you go to seminary. At the age of 12, I went to seminary, and from the seminary, I completed my high school as a seminarian. And after the high school, we have what is called a training in Latin, because in those days, our services would be in Latin language. So I studied Latin for 2 years. At that stage, we have a practice of saying, I wanted to be a priest, remember that was a plan. Then we were told by the bishop, you have now the choice. Think, pray and decide whether priesthood is your calling. Because by the time I was 17, I went to seminary at the age of 12. Not enough experience to decide on your future.
How long did you stay there?
5 years.
5 years.
3 years of high school and 2 years for Latin.
Okay.
Where we call a major seminary, where we go for philosophy, theology and all that. Before going to major seminary, we were called by the bishop and said, you decide now whether you would like to continue or not. Reflect, meditate, pray and come back. So I did reflect. My parents wanted me to be a priest. The priest who sent me to seminary wanted me to be a priest. I was the first in the class. So there was a possibility of my being sent to Rome for higher studies. With all that, I reflected and the thought that came to me, no, this is not my area. I must be in the world, be a normal person. So I went to the bishop and said, sorry, my conscience says that my calling is not to be a priest. Then I left the seminary and joined a college. I came under the influence of one Professor Ramayar, a great teacher, a man who loved his subject. He taught English, he loved the students, and he loved his profession. So for me, he was an ideal teacher. And he influenced me. He did not tell me to be a teacher, but he shaped my ambition that I must become a teacher like him. So I took up English literature. For BA, I had the first rank in Kerala State. Then I went for MA in University College Trivandrum. Came out, and then I was teaching in a college which belonged to our diocese, our bishop. I was very happy. My wife was studying there. We are from the same village. We knew each other. So I was in a very comfortable situation in the college. I was the only one with a first class in English literature in the college. Even my principal, who was the head of the Department of English, had a third class. Those days, getting a first class in English literature was very rare, very difficult. So I was very, very happy and proud. A lecturer in that English was happy. Till then, IAS examination center, the nearest for us was in Madras. The idea of IAS never was in my mind. Never in my mind. Now, once the district collector of Kollam was invited to my college for a speech. And I could, a young man, he was only 28 years old, and you could see the first speech people were making around, principal, professor, all running around and all that to collect it. So I started asking, what is this? And he came to the English Association by department. So I had a little chat with him. And then it so happened, while speaking about his college days, he said that Professor Ramayya, who was my teacher, who inspired me to be a teacher, was his teacher in Trichinopoli College. So I got into conversation about IAS and all that. I talked to Professor Ramayya, and he said, Alexander, you try for IAS. I know if you take the examination, you will pass. I know your capacity. But for me, it was a distant dream. And going to Madras, getting leave from the college. So I never. That year, the government announced Trivandrum to be a center. Before I came to know that, Professor Ramayya, who had retired and settled in Madras, he called me and said, do you know, they have announced a center in Trivandrum. Now you can't have excuse far away and all that. Go and take the examination. So it is that motivation. You see how a person motivated.
How did you prepare for the examination?
No, the preparation was, I decided to choose English literature, which was my subject. I studied for BA and MA. For those days, we had ordinary paper and advanced paper. Ordinary paper is of the level of post-graduation, and extraordinary paper will be above standard. So English literature, I took 2 papers. British history, when you study the literature of a country, automatically, because history of the country and literature have influence of each other, So we knew British history. So I took British history and Indian history. These are 3 subjects. So I made some reading. I did not have much time because I was teaching in the college. Much time. But then the essential matters in the subjects I knew. I used to be regular in reading the newspaper. That is why I mentioned even earlier that one training for general knowledge is to study newspapers. Then you get a lot of information other than the current political scenes or corona or something like that, about places, about people, about history. Things will come there, but you have to make a note of that. So my preparation for general knowledge was only by reading, no guides, no teachers, nothing, by reading the newspapers regularly. Not reading, studying newspapers. That was my practice which I did. And the thorough knowledge of the subject which you have to take. Then communication, I had developed this capacity, or I trained myself to speak publicly. Never missed any opportunity of participating in debates and symposiums. As a student, I used to participate in inter-college debates and symposiums and get prizes. I was selected from Kerala University to be for the symposium in Delhi for the Indian Collegiate Youth Festival. So these opportunities which came in my way to develop the capacity to communicate, I perfected, and even today I have no problem in facing an audience and talking on any subject in this world. So these are the kind of things. But motivation, basically, when you look at the life, it is not I wanted to be a priest, then I wanted to be a teacher, then I wanted to be administrator, and then at the choice I was given IFS and IAS. I was confused because I have no exposure to both these. Indian Foreign Service means ambassador, foreign travel, everything in those days, So some people advised me, take IFS. You will become an ambassador. You will be visiting all international centers and all that. Then I again asked my teacher, sir, what is your advice? He said, if you join IFS, you will have a very comfortable life. Very comfortable life as ambassador in places and all that. But if you take IAS, you will have greater opportunities of helping people. This was the advice he gave me. So choose IAS. And I chose IAS to IFS. So many people think IFS is a prestigious service, and less number of people. So I preferred IAS on the advice of my teacher. And I have no regrets. When I look back, I have no regrets because the opportunities that I had in this service to be of help to thousands of people, small, medium, little, that opportunity you will never get in Indian Foreign Service, in any other service. So the life was on like that. It is not according to your planning. It is according to my faith is there is a master planner who controls your.
If you liked our program, please do like, share and subscribe our channel. Thank you.